Here's why I became an atheist. I was born into a fundamental Baptist church. And fundamental Baptists are very strict. I mean, they're not as strict as the Amish in the way they dress or anything, but these are the type of people, there's no dancing, drinking, smoking, gambling. They make all these rules about things like Harry Potter, those dark magic stuff, any books or anything that has that type of stuff in there, anti-gay, anti-premarital sex, anti-abortion, all this stuff. I think if I hadn't been raised fundamental Baptist, I don't think I would have become atheist. I mean, if I was born Lutheran, whatever, where everything was more relaxed and you fit in more with society, I don't think I would have ever questioned my faith. But when you're living so much differently than most of the rest of society, you start questioning things. It's like, are all these people going to hell? Because they seem awfully nice, but... Anyways, with the Baptists, now I've heard, from what I've seen, no other denominations are like this on a regular basis. I know the Lutherans and Catholics aren't. I hear the Methodists are occasionally, and there was one other one that I hear occasionally does this, but rarely. Well, the Baptists have what they call the altar call. At the end of the sermon, each sermon, the pastor will go down. Okay, during the sermon, he's up on his in his pulpit, which is typically raised a few steps up to the, you walk a few steps up to the pulpit. And he stands up there to do his preaching. Then at the end of the sermon, I'm kind of tired today. At the end of the sermon, he'll come down them few steps and be in front of the congregation, in front of that table. I don't know what they call that table. They usually have a table there in the front, in front of the, below the pulpit. Anyways, stand there and they'll sing a song like, Lord, I'm coming home, or Just As I Am. Or is that the same song? It might even be the same song. Anyways, they'll do the song that's like the Lord calling you to get saved. And the pastor will stand up there and he'll call people, please get saved, if you're backslidden from the Lord, blah, 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 and he'll stand up there. And that's when most Baptists get saved, is at the altar call. It's rare that I've heard of a Baptist getting saved on their own or in Sunday school or whatever, right? So you see this, you think this is how I get saved. Well, when people get saved, they do all this weeping and crying. They'll go up there, they'll be weeping and crying, and then afterwards they'll say, oh, I can feel the Lord in my heart, I feel so much better. They say they're changed, blah, blah, blah. Well, now you reach the age of accountability. What's the age of accountability? I guess it depends. I've asked this. I guess it depends on each person. Some people never come to, severely developmentally disabled people, rarely. Some of them never get to an age of accountability. Anyways, I was getting older. My sister claimed she had already gotten saved. I remember one time saying that she had gotten saved. And I'm thinking, well, I can't remember my brother. Maybe my brother already got saved. I don't know. But I do remember my sister getting saved. And I'm getting older. She's 2 years older than me, about a year and a half older than me. And I'm thinking, well, she got saved, so she must be at the age of accountability. Am I at the age of accountability? I need to get saved. My biggest fear is going to hell. And I'm thinking, have I reached the age of accountability? So I asked my mom, how do I get saved? And she says, well, you'll know, you'll feel the call of the Lord, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, I never felt the call of the Lord, but I know I should get saved. I know right from wrong, blah, blah, blah. This is supposedly the age of accountability. I'm not, but I want to get saved. I'm just not feeling the call of the Lord to go up and get saved. So, one time, it was, what do you call that, Vacation Bible School. We went to a Lutheran Vacation Bible School around where we lived at the time. My mom would send us there. And it was fun. I liked the Vacation Bible School. So anyways, one time they were having like some, I don't know, it must have been some type of chapel or something. All the kids were in one room. And they talked about getting saved. And they said, if you want to get saved, and Lutherans don't have altar calls. So this was a new one for me. Maybe this is just what they do when they're young. Maybe this is what they do during all Vacation Bible Schools, trying to get the kids saved. I don't know. But anyways, he says, if you want to get saved, stay after and we'll have somebody talk to you. Just me and one other boy wanted to get saved. So I thought, here's my opportunity. Oops. My camera fell. Sorry about that. So anyways, I'm going to web it. So me and this boy went with this older woman into a room, and she told us about how to get saved, tell the Lord, I don't remember if it was a written down prayer that I prayed or if it was something I had to make up myself. But, so I did all that. There was no weeping and crying for either. I don't think so. Maybe the boy did. I don't remember. But I know I didn't. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any different. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel happy. I just felt the same. And I thought, still don't think I'm saved. And I don't remember what day it was. It was sometime on a weekday. And, so anyways, at least the Baptist church I was going to at the time, they had this song, these singers, this one group of singers that would always sing what they called specials. And one of their specials was, it was on a one day. And it goes, it was on a one day. When did you say me? It was, they'd start out with, it was on a Monday when Jesus saved me. Or maybe they start on Sunday. I don't remember, but it was, you're supposed to stand on the appropriate day. Like they'll sing, it was on a Sunday when Jesus saved me. And everybody who was saved on a Sunday would stand up. And then they'd sing, it was on a Monday when Jesus saved me. It was on a Monday when Jesus saved me. It was on a Monday when Jesus saved me. Must have been the hand of the Lord. It was on a Tuesday. And then everybody who's saved on Tuesday stands up. I don't remember what day. I just knew it was a weekday. So the very last verse was, it was on a one day when Jesus saved me. That's for people who just don't remember. And everybody else would be standing in the church and I wouldn't remember. So I would have to wait all the way till the end. I'm thinking, they're going to think I'm not saved. And I didn't think I was saved because I didn't feel any different. So anyways, I still always had this doubt, and I feared every night. Every night I would fear. I would, because it always seemed like when they talked about the Lord coming again, that it was at night that he would come. So I was always afraid. When I go to sleep, sometimes I'd be wide awake. I'd be like, I'm not saved. I'm not saved. I'm not saved. I don't feel saved. I don't feel any different. I don't feel the call of the Lord. Blah blah blah. So anyways, I just lived with that, and I just, every once in a while I would pray. I was like, I don't think I'm saved. Please let me know if I'm saved. If I haven't already been saved, save me now. And if I am saved, could you tell me this, give me a certainty. Could you give me a feeling of certainty that I'm saved? And I'd ask my mom, how do you know you're saved? Oh, I just know it. I feel it. Well, what does that mean? You know, how do you know that's what you're feeling? You know, and that's what was always my question. How do I know? Well, how am I supposed to feel that how do I know? How am I supposed to feel? What's that assurance? Like, what does that feel like? Anyways, but there wasn't that weeping, there wasn't that crying, there wasn't that remorse, there wasn't that feeling of guilt, because I wasn't going around robbing banks or anything. So I was, when I got saved, I was like 7. What bad could I have done up until 7? But anyways, so later on in life, when I was like 15 or 16, my mom sent me to this home in Texas. Anyways, there's a if you want to know what home it is, I'll ask in the comments and I'll let you know. But anyways, it was home in Texas. There's a video on it on YouTube, and I'll just direct you to it if you're interested. Anyways, my mom sent me to this home in Texas that was even more strict. It was, women were supposed to wear, they had to wear skirts and dresses, long skirts and dresses, and you couldn't do your hair, you couldn't wear hairspray or makeup or whatever, except when it was on Sunday. On Sunday when we went to church, the boys and the gals were separate. The boys and gals couldn't look at each other. It was really strict. Anyways, wackadoo. It was real wackadoo. But anyway, so they were real strict, and they taught us about, we read the Bible all the time. The Bible was there all the time. It was 24/7, talking and learning about God and the Bible and Jesus and all this stuff. Well, anyway, so I'm thinking, so I really started, looking into the Bible and all that, which I had never really done before, because we were just Sunday Christians. And we weren't, when I say we were Sunday Christians growing up, when we were Sunday Christians, it wasn't like my mom was living this evil life. We were all living this evil life of gambling and drinking and, painting the town the rest of the week. It's just, we just went to church on Sunday. Now, my mom didn't drink. My parents divorced when I was young. So it was, my mom didn't drink or swear or, she didn't do any of that. She didn't go to the casinos. She didn't go out at night, unless she took us, and we went to the movies or something out to eat. But, it wasn't like we were, praying for ourselves to get saved on Sunday for all we did on, Monday through Saturday. But we only went to church on Sunday usually. It was rare that we went to church on any day other than Sunday. But then I went to this, I'm in this home, and church was, twice on Sunday, twice on Wednesday. There was Bible class for an hour every other day except Saturday. It was just like God all the time. So I really started investigating. I thought, well, maybe this way I get saved. Maybe I just need to be reading my Bible and be saved that way. So, anyways, then I tried to get saved there again. Once they did an altar call, I had been there maybe, 6 or 7 months. And so I tried to get saved again. And again, I did not feel anything. There was no crying. There was no guilt. There was nothing. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any better after I got, quote unquote, saved. And so I'm thinking, this is just not taking for me. All these other people, they come up there, they're crying, and they come back saying, oh, I know I was saved, I feel better, I feel like, I'm with the Lord now, whatever. I didn't feel any of that. So I was still scared. I'm going to hell because I'm not saved, but I don't know how to get saved. I did everything they told me, right? And so that led me to more and more investigating of again, had I been Lutheran or Catholic, you're them. You get saved on your own time. They don't do that at church. It's your business. You do it on your time. I would have probably thought nothing of it. And I never would have had any of these doubts. I would have never had further investigation. I would have just said, oh, must be saved. I did everything everybody else in the church is doing. Must be saved just like them. But this one, because of the way they get saved. you know, you're going up there crying and weeping and all that stuff, and I just didn't have that. So anyway, so there, when I was in that home, they had this little pamphlet they'd send out every New Year, and it would be read the Bible in a year, and they'd have like, I don't know, 2 chapters in the Old Testament, 2 chapters in the New Testament. You'd read every day, and then that would get you, you know, through the year. By the end of the year, you'd have read the whole Bible, right? So I started to do that, and I found out so many things that were very disturbing to me in the Bible, that was in the Bible, and a lot of contradictions. And I'd ask about these things, and they just say, well, that's God's way, or we won't know until we get to heaven. All our questions will be answered, or God can do whatever he wants to do. And I'm like, well, God sure does seem like a jerk, because he's letting a lot of these women get raped and killed for, you know, things that were men's faults. And the men are getting away with it. And the thing about Lot really bothered me. You know, where he was going to let his daughters get gang raped, which would have meant death. If the gang rape didn't kill them, which it would have, then they would have been killed anyways because they were raped. Because like if a woman gets raped, in biblical times it was her fault. And she deserves death. And if she doesn't get death, she's ostracized by everybody. She might as well be dead, because women can't earn their own keep. Couldn't earn their own keep. You know, they were under the instruction of men. And if you couldn't find a husband, then you just, guess they were just homeless or something, but they would be ostracized by the community. And then another one was Abraham. I can't remember the woman, but Abraham paid for a prostitute with his staff. It's Cain. And she was caught in the act of prostitution or something, and they were going to stone her to death for being a prostitute. And how she saved herself was saying, well, Abraham was my customer. Abraham was the one I had sex with. Let me show you his staff. And she showed him his staff, showed them his staff, and he says, oh yeah, that's my staff. Well, you got to let her go. Wait a minute, so he can whore around like crazy and get away with, but he can pay to have sex with somebody, and that's okay. But if she earns money having sex with somebody, she gets killed? Is it because she's a woman, or is she earning sex from her? Why isn't he killed? He's the one spending money on prostitutes. And wasn't he married at the time? You know, shouldn't he be stoned to death? I mean, and how else are women supposed to make it? They have to prostitute, because, you know, if she doesn't have a man earning her money, she'd be homeless. Anyways, but so yeah, those two really disturbed me. I remember them to these days, and I never got clear-cut answers for them. It was always, we don't know the way of the Lord. No, God's not sexist or misogynistic. There's a reason he does this. That's the definition of those two examples right there are the definition of misogynistic. There's no other reason. There's no other reason anybody could think of that would be okay. But anyways, so I don't know where I'm going. I have a tendency to go off on tangent on these things. You'll just have to bear with me if you listen all the way through. There is a lesson in this, and the lesson is, like, if you're going to be teaching in church, don't be so strict in the Bible. Don't say you take the Bible. That's how I was raised. The Bible, every jot and tittle is true. There's absolutely no mistakes in it, no falsehoods, no, you know, this was what it was inspired by God, and God directed the hands of men to write this, so there's no mistakes, and you know, it's supposed to be taken literally. There's parables, and the parables are known but as parables, but they're to teach us a lesson, but all the other stuff is literal, is to be taken literally. So don't do that. You know, And don't be so strict on, because like if you're telling people to live completely different than the rest of the world is living, when they get out in the world, they're going to start questioning things, and that's what I did. When I got out in the world, there are people drinking, going to bars, and casinos, and just stuff like that. And so I really started investigating because I did not want to go to hell. And the funny thing is, the thing that I tried different denominations. What really started changing my mind, though, on whether or not the Bible was true, was this book called, either it was an Idiot's Guide to the Bible or the Bible for Dummies. I think it was the Idiot's Guide to the Bible. But it told, and this is one of the things where I wanted to learn in Sunday school. One of the reasons I kept going to different churches was I wanted to learn how the Bible was compiled, who wrote the books, when, where, what language were they written in, why, who found them, who found these different books, who found what books, why were they considered biblical, how did they how did they figure out that they were considered from the God we know of and not like the Hindu God or the, or how did they know it didn't belong to Buddhism or something else? I wanted to know the history of the Bible. And no Sunday school class I could find that was teaching anything near it. It was just an extension of your children's Sunday school, right? Well, anyway, so I started reading these books, and some of the books were too deep. So I went to the Idiot's Guide. I got this Idiot's Guide. I rented it from the local library, or it was a Dummies or Idiot's Guide. And that's where I learned all the history of the Bible, right? And it made me very suspicious, especially the New Testament books. And I'm thinking, I don't think these were even written in the time period that they said they were from, like way, way back when Jesus was. Because, some of these things were found a long time later, and they would have just disintegrated, in my opinion, with through weather and just wear and tear. And a couple of the books, or New Testament books, are found in dubious situations. I'm like, how do you know this it wasn't just a forgery? Not a forgery, but just complete fabrication, that the people who allegedly found them were the ones that made them. So that's when I started to doubt the Bible. And of course, when you start doubting the Bible, you start doubting God. Does God exist? Or is this God the right God? Maybe the Bible's fake, but maybe these other religions are correct. So I did still go to some Christian churches. I ended up studying universalism. I studied Islam. I studied Buddhism. I tried to study Hindu. But by that time, I just started thinking, what? And I started going back and thinking, what? I don't even have any anecdotal evidence for God, because God never did anything for me. I was homeless. When I was homeless, I never stole anything, never did anything bad, just did the absolute necessities, did dumpster diving which is completely legal, to get food, or cans to return, bottle returns. I live in Michigan, so we get 10-cent bottle returns. And even then I didn't do anything legal, and all these other people, all these other rich white dudes doing all this illegal stuff of embezzlement and all this crap the CEOs do that bankrupts businesses and they get away with it. And I don't see God condemning them. But here I was homeless, not even stealing a loaf of bread, and where's this God who's supposed to be giving, and I tithed. Whenever I could, I tithed. I tithed and offered. Like, tithe is 10% and offerings over and above that. I did 10, at one time I was doing 10% tithing and 10% offering of whatever I got in, brought in that week. And supposedly I'm supposed to get that tenfold. I kept getting homeless. Where is this? This isn't even anecdotal evidence. This is anecdotal evidence against God. Here I'm doing everything, I'm supposed to, reading the Bible, trying to figure out, trying to get saved, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, things are just getting worse for me. So finally, it dawned on me. It's just like, I don't even have any anecdotal evidence for God. And everything I hear, not in my own life, and everything I hear that's anecdotal for other people, it's just like, I had cancer, I went through all these treatments and got chemo and all this, and I have no more cancer. Well, every time I heard that, even before I started doubting God, I'm thinking, well, yep, that's how chemotherapy works. Or stuff like that. I was very sick, I was throwing up, but I slept and I rested and I prayed and I got better. Yep, that's how the flu works. Most of the time you don't die. You get better. You just have to sleep and rest and drink a lot of liquids and take your vitamins and rest up and you get better. So that wasn't even anecdotal for me. It was just common sense tells you, that's how life is. So it wasn't until, so basically I had been, my whole adult life, I've been kind of agnostic, because I didn't know what the truth was about God. And then I was really agnostic when I was like, well, maybe there isn't a God. Once I read that, Idiot's Guide to the Bible. And then I just so it wasn't until maybe 4 years ago that I finally just said out loud, I'm an atheist. I had been reading books on humanism and atheism, which really isn't much. I mean, atheism is just a, belief that either a belief that there is no God or a belief that there, you don't have enough evidence to believe in God. So, I mean, these books on atheism were more, science-based. It doesn't really, because when you don't believe anything, what, in a higher power, how much is there to say about a higher power? These were mostly books on, humanism and science that explained evolution and how the world works. Some things that are, what do you call it? Attributed to God. These books would explain, well, this is how the world works, and science can explain that. So anyways, that's how I came to be an atheist. Again, if I hadn't been brought up in such, a strict environment, or if I hadn't been raised Baptist, I don't think I would have ever become an atheist. It's that doggone altar call that always had me doubting. I never felt them emotions that the people, and now that I look back, I'll tell you why I think I never felt them emotions. I think I never felt them emotions because I have brain damage. And I have never been able to, I never had the right emotions at the right time. I have a hard time emotionally connecting to people. That's because of the brain damage. Throwing a little homelessness in there, and you really have, you really learn that not to connect to people. You just don't. Phone's ringing. So, anyways, I think that's why I never felt them strong emotions about get other